In the far north, the ice is vanishing 4 times faster than anywhere else on Earth. Billion-barrel oil fields and new global trade routes are emerging from the melt. As Russia races ahead, deploying over 40 icebreakers and reactivating 50 Arctic bases, a hidden arms race is underway. Control of this new frontier could decide the world's next war, but could a warming Arctic really upend the balance of global power? Here is why the answer matters more than ever. Arctic temperatures have surged at nearly 4 times the global average since 1979, reshaping the region's climate and its role in world affairs. What was once a fortress of ice is now a corridor of opportunity, opening up resources and trade routes that were locked away for millennia. Satellite records from the National Snow and Ice Data Center show that the summer sea ice minimum has shrunk to just over 4 million square kilometers in 2024, the 10th lowest ever recorded. Scientists such as Julian Stroev point out that the Arctic's ice-free window, when less than 10% of the ocean is covered, has already grown from about 30 days to over 70 days each year. By the end of this century, models suggest that window could stretch to 100 days or more. This environmental transformation carries staggering economic weight. The US Geological Survey estimates that the Arctic holds roughly 90 billion barrels of undiscovered oil, about 13% of all known global reserves. It also contains close to 30% of the world's untapped natural gas, most of it offshore and newly accessible as the ice recedes. These numbers add up to a potential windfall worth trillions of dollars, turning the Arctic into the world's last great resource prize. Melting ice has redrawn the map of global shipping. The Northern Sea route, hugging Russia's Arctic coast, now offers a shortcut that cuts the journey between Europe and Asia from 37 days to as few as 22. In 2024 alone, cargo volumes on this passage jumped to 36 million tons, a 36-fold increase since 2007. For the first time, nations can move goods and fuel through waters that were previously impassable, bypassing traditional choke points like the Suez Canal. Geography that once protected countries is disappearing. As the ice barrier thins, new attack vectors and shipping lanes emerge, forcing military planners to rethink old assumptions. The Arctic is no longer a natural moat. It is becoming a crossroads where climate, commerce, and security collide. The numbers are clear. Whoever controls access here will shape the future of energy, trade, and power itself. Russia has moved faster and farther than any other nation to turn Arctic thaw into military dominance. No other country comes close to matching its mobility in these waters. Today, over 40 icebreakers fly the Russian flag, 7 of them nuclear-powered, each able to smash through 3 meters of multi-year ice. This fleet is not just for escorting cargo. Nuclear icebreakers such as Arctica and Siberia keep the Northern Sea route open year-round, clearing a path for both commercial and military convoys. By 2025, Russia's state nuclear agency Rosatom brought the latest generation of icebreakers online, with new builds scheduled to push the total fleet to 50 by the end of the decade. This mobility gives Russia the power to move troops, supplies, and warships across the Arctic, even in the dead of winter. Diesel-powered patrol vessels built for the harshest conditions now operate alongside their nuclear counterparts. Shipyard blueprints and open-source intelligence confirm that several of these vessels have been designed with modular weapon bays, allowing for rapid upgrades and the mounting of advanced missile systems. While open deployment of Kaliber cruise missiles on icebreakers remains debated among Western analysts, the capability to arm support ships is now part of Russian planning, blurring the line between civilian and military operations in the Arctic. On land, Russia has quietly rebuilt its Arctic footprint. Since 2014, nearly 50 Soviet-era military bases have come back to life. These range from radar outposts and missile sites to fully staffed air bases. The most striking example sits at 80 degrees north, the Trefoil base on Franz Josef Land. Built for year-round operations, Trefoil houses over 150 personnel, an airfield, and a self-contained power plant. Satellite imagery from Maxar shows expanded runways and new radar domes added in 2024, all within striking distance of the central Arctic Ocean. This network of bases is tied together by the Northern Fleet, headquartered at Severomorsk on the Kola Peninsula. Severomorsk hosts more than 30 submarines and dozens of surface warships, making it the largest concentration of Russian naval power anywhere in the world. These forces are on constant alert, with patrols that stretch from the Barents Sea to the Chukchi Sea. The combination of mobile icebreakers, fortified bases, and a nuclear-armed fleet gives Russia the ability to project power across the entire Arctic, setting the operational tempo for any future conflict in the region. Russian submarines now slip beneath Arctic ice sheets, shielded by an environment that muffles sonar and scatters sound. The Borei class, the pride of the Northern Fleet, carries 16 Bulava ballistic missiles per hull, each missile capable of delivering multiple nuclear warheads across continents. Yasen-class attack submarines armed with Kaliber cruise missiles roam the same waters, able to strike targets thousands of kilometers away. Naval analyst H.Y. Sutton describes these boats as some of the quietest on Earth, exploiting the thick, fractured ice to vanish from Western sensors. Under-ice patrols have become routine, with Russian crews drilling for months at a time in the Barents Sea and Kara Sea, surfacing only when ice thins or orders demand. This undersea threat is compounded by Russia's ability to move and resupply its fleet year-round, thanks to a vast icebreaker armada. In contrast, the United States faces a critical shortfall. Only 2 operational icebreakers remain: the aging Polar Star, built in 1976, and the medium-duty Healy, commissioned in 1999. Both vessels are decades past their prime. Coast Guard logs from 2024 detail propulsion failures and emergency repairs at sea, with crews forced to improvise fixes using scavenged parts. The Government Accountability Office warns that without new ships, America's presence in the polar regions will be reduced to a seasonal token. Replacement polar security cutters, already over budget and years behind schedule, are not expected before the next decade. Ronald O'Rourke, Congressional Research Service analyst, notes that this gap leaves US territory exposed to threats that can appear and disappear under the ice, with little warning and even less ability to respond. China's Arctic ambitions have shifted the balance, introducing a new set of calculations for every power operating in the region. In 2018, Beijing declared itself a near-Arctic state and began pouring money into Arctic research stations, energy projects and port infrastructure. The Polar Silk Road promises to cut shipping time between China and Europe by up to 40%. Chinese icebreakers, Xulong 1 and Xulong 2, with 2 more under construction, now patrol northern waters, officially for science, but increasingly as escorts for commercial and dual-use missions. Internal directives from the People's Liberation Army Navy leaked in 2024 outline plans for regular Arctic deployments presented as research, with a 20% annual increase in icebreaker activity. NATO's response has been to close ranks. With Finland and Sweden joining in 2024, the alliance now forms the Arctic 7, encircling Russia's northern flank for the first time in history. Military exercises have grown in scale and intensity, with tens of thousands of troops training for cold weather warfare across Scandinavia. Yet the alliance faces critical gaps. Most NATO countries lack heavy icebreakers. After-action reports from recent drills document equipment failures and cases of hypothermia at -50 degrees. A Norwegian commander described the alliance's weakest point as cold weather logistics. Hybrid warfare has already arrived. In January 2022, a fibre optic cable to Svalbard was severed, cutting off vital communications. Norwegian intelligence linked the incident to a Russian tanker dragging anchor, but evidence stopped short of proof. Since then, GPS jamming has disrupted more than 100 civilian and military flights in the Barents region. Keir Giles, a leading expert on Russian hybrid tactics, warns that these grey zone actions probe NATO's response without crossing the threshold for war. Russia's maritime doctrine now lists the Arctic as its most important strategic direction, and officials have stated they are fully prepared for conflict if provoked. Against this backdrop, every new patrol, cable break or navigation jam becomes another spark in a region primed for escalation. Right now, Russia operates over 40 icebreakers, while the United States struggles with 2. As Arctic ice vanishes and great powers converge, the line between competition and confrontation thins. The next front is not theoretical, it is forming in real time. The question is, who will shape it first? Share your thoughts below.